Welcome to the Penny for Our Thoughts podcast, where you can get a third-party opinion on your worries, concerns, or problems that you may have. But please don't keep it to yourself and give some to us. My name is John.
And I'm Gerald, and we are your hosts for today's episode of the Penny for Our Thoughts podcast. Today, John, we're joined by a very special guest. I've known him personally since junior high school up until this ripe old age of, 27? So, guest, I'm going to cut to the chase. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself for us?
Hello, my name is William. I am a self-proclaimed number 2 fan of this podcast. And I think I'm here to give some today.
Hey. I like that.
Always listening, and now you're willing to give some advice to these individuals. So, Will, as you know, we have concerns from individuals. We have 4 today for you.
Yes.
Okay, we're going to start from not as, big. Intense, to more intense as
we're building it up this time.
We're building it up. All right. Awesome. You ready to get started?
Yes.
All right. So the first concern is from Chernonymous. The title of this concern is, my girlfriend is going to her male best friend's party and I'm not invited. She just casually came and told me that I can't help but feel uncomfortable since that a particular group of people smoke some weird stuff and she might join them. Also, I feel left out and it just made me overall sad. I'm not sure what to do about it because I'll seem controlling if I try to do anything. We are both 16 years old. Do you have any advice in this situation?
Well, you're 16 and I'm guessing the friends and everyone is 16 as well.
Yes.
I don't know if smoking is a very legal thing and something that you should just share, but okay, I'll just, putting that aside, I think that the boyfriend is they're both very young, so I'm assuming this is a new, a very first or one of the earlier relationships that he's going to go through in his life.
Mm-hmm.
I think he needs to think of, he specifically said, I wasn't invited.
Yeah.
So then there has to be a reason for that. Maybe you're not as good friends, or maybe you're just not friends with your girlfriend's male best friend, right? And that makes sense, right? When some people have parties and, you want to invite people that you kind of vibe with and think that you'll have a good time with. And maybe there's a reason that they don't vibe. I don't think that's anything that you should be kind of butthurt about.
Yeah.
I
agree with that.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't be worried because she's going to a guy's house to smoke whatever it might be. I mean, it could be cigarettes, could be marijuana, whatever it is. Wouldn't you feel uncomfortable just that alone?
Agreed. At that young age, I think any guy, or even if the roles were reversed here, would be uncomfortable with that. Me personally, at that age, I would probably be in the same boat. I think the most, vanilla or mature answer to that is, if you want to continue the relationship, you have to trust your girlfriend, but you also have to express your kind of feelings or that you feel uncomfortable, but assure her that you trust.
So let's say have happen to you. You're older now, right? You're not 16, right? And then your girlfriend's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to my best friend. That's a guy's party to do whatever, drink, smoke." At this point, it would be legal. Drinking would be legal.
Yep.
Let's say smoking was cigarettes and is legal.
Sure.
Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with sending your girlfriend to that guy's house?
It depends. In my head, it depends on what stage I am at the relationship. If it's fairly new, I think I have to sort of be more stern about being uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, I would still trust my significant other with whatever she wants to do. Because for me, when I go into relationships, I try to put total trust in the other person. And if they give me scenarios like this, I give them all the benefit of the doubt and just, let them do their thing, right? Because I'm sure if it was the other way around, I would expect the same thing.
I think in the example of bringing an older age into this, I feel like at this age, it would be a completely different scenario. Like late 20s versus 16, because chances are if there's stuff that you wanted to try at this age, you would have tried it already, right? So then I personally would have an easier time trusting someone that's like 20 and above with the aspects of drinking or smoking, because in my mind they probably know what their limit is and they won't do stupid stuff with it, versus 16. If you get excited, if you get really like, you get hyped, all the peer pressures, all that much more, heavy at that age. And I would think anyway, I feel like I would be more scared. I wouldn't be as trusting when it comes to someone so young. And I hate to assume, but I'm assuming, I guess, not as experienced. Right? So
then this question kind of goes to both of you guys. Would you be like, now we're back to 16 years old. We're not our age right now.
Okay.
Let's go back to 16 years old. And then your significant other told you this. Would you straight up be like, no, I don't want you to go? Or would you be like, hey, I'm bothered, but you can go? And then would you be upset if you told her that? Like I said, you did tell your significant other that you are like uncomfortable with the situation, that you're going to some guy's house to smoke some weird stuff, as the concern says, word for word. And then you told her your worries and your concerns, but then she still went. Would that like put a crinkle in your relationship? Would that put like a kind of bad spot in your relationship? You told her you're uncomfortable, but she still was like, oh, okay, you're comfortable. That's good. I acknowledge that, but I'm still gonna go have fun with my friends.
If I was 16, I don't think I would have told her in the first place. If I was 16, like imagining my 16-year-old self, I would have just bottled it up.
You would have bottled it up?
I'm not saying that's what you should do, but your question was, if I was 16 in this position, I wouldn't have said anything, and that would just bothered me.
Because now you know it's not a good thing to do. So
now that I know, but it's not now. It's when I was 16. That's what your question was.
I guess, knowing in hindsight, I'm saying, would you just tell her straight up no? Or let's say you do tell her and she still goes, would you be upset that she just went still?
I'm not the type to just be like, no. But I'm not putting a wall up like that. I will let her know. And then after that, I consider the ball in her court. If she chooses to go, I would have to ask for some sort of reassurance in that case. Be like, okay, you got to make sure you let me know how you are every now and then, and I would like you to actually come home and, spend, I guess 16, they wouldn't be spending the night together probably, but
make sure you tell me you got home safe.
Yeah, that sort of thing, like some sort of reassurance.
Well, she might be smoking, so they're,
who knows what they're doing. Yeah, so
smoking is the boundaries here are a little different.
Yeah, it gets a little. Yeah. What about you? Would you say no, straight up no? Or
I don't think I can. I don't, even at that age, I can't remember myself being so assertive like that to anybody, let alone a significant other, right?
Yeah, I can relate to that.
I think at that age, when you're involved in, I guess, more intimate relationships like that, it's harder to be really negative, because I think my self-esteem wasn't at the best at that age. That plays into a factor. Like if you say no to everything, if you're being like, oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, right? I would feel like I'm kind of risking this relationship that I have, which I don't feel like I need to do at that age, right?
So it's similar to like kind of Cheryl say, I'm the opposite. I would just be like, no, don't go.
Yeah,
well, and you're right. Realistically, her actions is on the ball's in her court, right? But I would straight up say just like, don't go, right? I don't feel comfortable with this. I don't want you to go. And then if she's like, I don't care, I'm gonna go, then I'd be like, okay, well, clearly this relationship's not gonna work out because you're not respecting my opinions and feelings on this matter, right? I would be pretty stern about it. Even thinking even hindsight in 16, I wasn't the biggest fan of like underage drinking or like trying drugs when you're younger than 18 and stuff like that. And I was never a huge fan of that. So even thinking back now, even when I was 16, I'd be like, no, don't go. I'd be pretty hard about that.
Yeah.
Like I would be stern about that. Like, don't go.
I for sure, I can see you, like knowing you, I can see you doing that. Another thing is that's so hard for me to put myself in is because I never, like even now, I don't hang out with the people who would have done this at 16.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to relate to people who grew up doing this. So if I was the type, like, I don't know what he's like. If he was the type to try this every now and then, I feel like if I put myself in his shoes, I would be like, I'd be okay since I knew how it was. But then he doesn't say whether or not he's smoked or drank
No,
stuff,
he
right?
did not mention that at all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I think that's something. There's a few questions that was going through my head when you were reading that prompt. Was I was thinking, what are the girlfriend's intentions when she goes to the party, right?
Yeah.
Is she there to just hang out? Like he mentioned the smoking, but is she even interested in smoking? Like she might just be friends with them. She just wants to hang out with them. And yes, peer pressure is a factor, but there are some people who like to hang out with others, even though they don't have those types of similar interests.
That's true.
He did say that she did say that she said she might join them.
Oh, she might
Yeah,
join
so
them.
She might
she's being
join them.
open and saying, hey, there's a good chance I
Okay,
might
well,
join
that's
them.
good. At least she's not lying about it.
That's true.
I guess that's the plus side, but I would be like, nah, dude, don't. It might seem controlling, and this guy actually did say, I don't want to talk about it because it seems like it's controlling if I try to do anything. And I think in that aspect, I guess it depends on how uncomfortable you are, because everyone here would be uncomfortable with the situation, while two of you guys would be like, I'll tell you that, and then the ball's in her court, and I'm just like, no, don't do it. It's uncomfortable and don't do it. So I'm more like the other step forward, while you guys are like, it's uncomfortable, but you decide what you want to do, right?
Yeah.
So I would be more
I would
certain about
tell her, like, I don't want you to do it, right? I would tell her, but then I'm kind of jumping back into Gerald's side where he's saying, like, the ball's in her court. I think at that young age, like, you just got to let people be people, and then you'll sort of understand better what kind of person you meet in the future. So if this turns out well, it's great. But moving forward, if she ended up doing a lot of things that you don't like, this might be a sign that she will continue doing things like that and you're uncomfortable with it, right?
That's a very good way to put it. She'll, on top of her knowing herself better, you will know her better through this experience, right? If you do let her go, you could see it this way. You could go, what's the best case scenario? She goes, she doesn't like it, and she doesn't hang out with, or she doesn't do that with all of her friends anymore. But, and worst case scenario, she likes it, and she keeps doing it, and you don't like it. Then you find yourself in a situation knowing more what you like, what you don't like. Right?
I get the point, but just like, I don't want to put this guy in a situation where he'll get hurt, right? Because if it works out like William said, it's great, right? But let's say if it doesn't work out, and then like if she doesn't go in the first place, because she says she might join them, she might want to try this thing because she's young and she wants to try new things, and then she starts liking it, and then that we go down that road, right? But if he stops it right off the beginning, he wouldn't have to go through that painful relationship breakup, whatever. Yeah, it might be the learning, you learning as an individual, you learning as a person, but like you can get through life without going through that pain, right?
That's true. But you flip the table now. He tells her no, and she's like, okay, I won't do it for you. And then later down the road, she gets another opportunity to do it, and she does it then, and she finds out she likes it. I figured down the road she'd be more mature about it, but it still could come into play how they could butt heads over this thing. Like it might not go away just because he says no the first time.
So I would like to take a couple steps back.
Okay.
You said, I don't want to hurt this guy, right?
Yeah.
I think if he asked for advice, I think it's kind of misleading if we kind of tell him only the positives that can outcome from, whatever we say.
That's true.
That's true.
Right? Because we might be misleading him, and then further down the road, that might actually do more pain to him than what me and Gerald are kind of talking about. For him to like know the girl more, I think for me as an outsider, since I don't have any attachments to these people, I think it's easier for me to tell them the objective point of view, where, I know you want to keep your girlfriend. I know you want to have a happy life with her, right? But realistically, these are some of the options that you might have to go through. And I just want to tell him that, right? So he knows, even though he might not want to hear it or he might not like what I'm saying, I think he should at least know that this is the realistic scenarios that you're going to be seeing.
I agree with you. I think that you make a good point. Like, I know I don't want to hurt the guy, but like, if I'm not going to give him like advice that's going to eventually hurt him more in the future, it's more like, you know, right now in this situation is the issue of this party, right? And you brought up the fact that like in the future that might happen. I mean, it might happen. We don't know. I mean, again, same thing here. She said she might do it. Maybe she won't do it, right? But then like right now, what he can do right now is to just stop that from happening right away, right? And just stop it. That's why I'm just kind of more stern. I'm like, no, just tell her not to go at all. And then hopefully it works out in the long run. But again, I see your points where you're like, you would tell them that you're uncomfortable, but you wouldn't like really force her not to go, kind of thing.
Right. I think it really depends on what's the guy's name again?
Well, the username is Chernonymous.
Yeah, Chernonymous. I think it's really up to you on how you feel. If you feel that uncomfortable about it, yes, you can be stern about it. But if you're just like, if you're kind of unsure, you're just, you know, sending this to us because you're kind of unsure, you need a little bit of guidance. I think at least expressing that is the first step. And then, you know, taking it one step higher and being stern if you're, you know, if you feel even more uncomfortable.
Start at the beginning and then let's see, just instead of like jumping to conclusions, I guess we'll just wait and see, right? If you're uncomfortable, like William said, tell him. If you're not, then just voice your opinions. And then
bottom line, let it be heard. Let it be known how you feel about it.
Yeah.
Because that's, you know, that's
at the end of the day, she's going to make the decision on what
this is true. Exactly.
On, right.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're like, oh man, you can't go, that's not going to exactly stop her.
Yeah. That's,
And that wraps up the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to the second one. The second one's from Throwaway 100B. Title is, should I, a 19-year-old male, tell my girlfriend, an 18-year-old female, that I am a millionaire? Hey, I've been dating this girl for around 2 months and a half now. Things are going really great. She's awesome, and I think I do love her. And we are both internationals in a pretty reputable university and came from a third world country. I have started working on projects for about 6 years and got really lucky with cryptocurrency. I kept it a pretty good secret, and now I'm kind of a really private person about it. Even my parents barely know about this. My question is, would it be a good idea to let her know how much I am worth? I'm afraid it might change something in how she sees our relationship. Maybe I'm just making a big deal out of it. Genuinely curious what people think about this.
Did it say how long they were dating for?
No.
Oh.
Yeah. Straightforward, no.
No, you said no?
Don't tell her yet. I think your parents don't even know about it. If the first person that you're going to tell something that important is not your parents, you know, people that have spent 19 years with you, as opposed to, you know,
however long
he spent with this current girlfriend. Yeah, I think it's a super risk to even tell, you know, even your friends. It's kind of things like that. Being a millionaire at 19, of course, I can't imagine that. I'm not there, but you know, you always hear those stories when someone's a millionaire or they just have a lot of money. Their relationships with even their parents, their own family, can change for the worst.
Yeah, I can agree with that. You always hear that money changes people, but one thing, like William said, one thing that changes definitely once people find out you have money is the relationships you have with them. And growing up surrounded by people who are like I don't want to name any names, but there's so many people around me that like, as soon as they know that you or someone close to you has family, I've seen it firsthand where they're has money. I've seen it firsthand where they're instantly like your best friend, you know, like, oh, let's, you know, I did this for you X many years ago. You want to help me out here, blah, blah, blah. And it's usually more well hidden than that. But a lot of the time it's like, it's very clear that they're after your money.
I think William said it perfectly. You're not willing to tell your parents, but you're willing to tell your girlfriend. That's what kind of was like the big, no, you got to tell your parents first about the situation first. And then after you tell your parents, and then if you really wanted to, I guess realistically it is your choice, but just be aware, just because, you know, if you do love her and then all this stuff, money might change her. I'm not, you know, again, objectively speaking, I'm not saying this person's like the angel or the devil or whatever. Mm-hmm. once you tell her that you're a millionaire, she might have different thoughts about you. And then once you tell her, there's a good chance she's going to tell someone else. And that person's going to tell someone else. And eventually the school you attend to with your girlfriend is going to know the fact that you're a millionaire.
That becomes who you are at that point.
Yeah.
The fact that he's kind of private and secretive about this fact, I'm assuming he might feel that it's like okay to tell one person, but that one person, it can multiply, especially with the fact like that.
So then here's a question for either of you. What point would you tell your significant other if you were a millionaire at 19?
I wouldn't tell them at all. Financial, for me anyway, financials, especially like my net worth, I think that's my business unless we get married or like we're like getting close to marriage or stuff like that. And we're like maybe like 2-3 years into the relationship. Then maybe I'll tell her. But until then, I wouldn't. Because one thing I would tell my significant other is debts. If I had like massive debts, credit card debts, student loans, whatever, those things I'll be upfront right off the bat. Right. But beyond that, how much I'm actually worth, how much money I have in the bank, how much money I have invested, all that is it's just me. I could tell my friends, that's my decision who I tell, but I'm going to keep it to myself. I have no reason to tell my girlfriend. Yeah, I mean, it'd be great if she knows and stuff, but I wouldn't do it unless I'm sure like she's like the sure thing. And that might take 2-3 years of dating.
Okay, so 2-3 years is your answer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So kind of want to, again, take a few steps back here. I think he said he got this money, like all this money over 6 years, I think he said.
Must be nice.
Yes, he's been working on projects for about 6 years now and got lucky with cryptocurrency.
Exactly. So this isn't wealth that you have gathered over, yes, 6 years is a long time, but with respects to the amount of money, that's actually a really short amount of time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that like those concerns that we have with like how people change around you, the relationships with you, you can lose that money just as fast.
That's
And
true.
if you're if you're okay with losing all that money, well, okay, sure, right? But I'm sure, you worked hard 6 years. I think he thinks he's worked, at a respectable level or higher to have gotten this far and this successful, right? Don't throw it all away just like that, right? You were careful, you were hardworking to get here. You just have to work just as hard to maintain that.
That's true. Well, yeah.
What about you?
Well, me what?
When would you tell your significant other that you're cash flow?
I'm cash flow. I think similar to you, I can't really put a number of years on it, but when I'm pretty sure that like she's the one that I'm going to end up with. Because yeah, to an extent, I do agree with you that my financials is my business.
Yeah.
And yes, it is important for her to know, but only when it becomes relevant to the relationship,
Yeah, I mean, if my significant other was a millionaire too, then I wouldn't care if I say I'm a millionaire. But
oh, really? Okay. So
Yeah,
there's a level playing field.
Yeah, at that point, it's a level playing field, right? Because if she tells me that she's a millionaire and her family's super rich, then I'd be like, yeah, by the way, I'm pretty rich too.
Wow, what are the chances that maybe she's also a millionaire and we don't know about
She's
that?
just not
right?
telling you.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it's possible, right? So if she was a millionaire, I would tell her.
That's such a weird scenario. By the way, I'm a millionaire. Oh, really? Me too.
But
What a life.
It's possible, right? But you're right. I wouldn't.
Possible.
Like if I was that rich and think about the thing is because he's with cryptocurrency too. If I was with cryptocurrency and made that much money, it can go up as soon as it can go down, especially if you're working with the markets and stuff like that. You can gain so much money day one and then lose it day two. So with that in mind, I also wouldn't tell. Because what if you tell your friends or your girlfriend and then you say I'm a millionaire, I'm rich, and the next day like all your stuff you had just tanks, right? And I don't know if his money's still in the market or not, but I'm just saying if it is, right? He went from being rich to broke in one day. And all his friends could be like, "Wow, where'd you spend the money? Like, what'd you do?" Like, it's gonna create so much like this aura around you that you don't want.
Yeah, I think when you found that person that you know that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, I think that is the right time to kind of release or tell her about that information, because at that point, this is a huge fact. I think at that point she'll better understand why you kept it until that point.
Yeah.
So like if you're talking about financials. When you get there, you can be like, yeah, by the way, like, I think we're good because I'm a millionaire. And then as long as you kind of express your reasons as to why you kept this from her, I think that's a solid way of explaining yourself and I guess protecting yourself.
And I'm just hoping, I would assume that by the time you realize you found the one that you want to marry, that you understand her inside and out.
Exactly.
Because I could imagine a scenario where it's like, by the way, babe, I'm a millionaire. And then she's like, so why didn't you buy all those dinners for me all those years? Like, I would hope it would get to the point where that she wouldn't say that. You get to the point in the relationship where you know her well enough that she wouldn't react negatively to you saying
or
it.
she could do that in a joking way.
Well, yeah, in a joking way, but
fine, but
And like, I just look back at the concern again. You guys been dating for 2.5 months. It's not
it's 2.5?
years. Yeah.
Oh wow!
2.5
See, I
months?
did
Yeah,
not hear
definitely not.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
This is
For 2.5 months.
no, dude. Tell your parents. Actually, depends what your relationship with your parents is, but I would tell my parents
Yeah,
first.
2.5 months. I don't even tell. Like, I'm pretty open about my financial situations, only for debts wise. Like, if I have student loans and stuff like that, I don't say that even 2.5 months in. I say that a couple months in. Right?
10 weeks. 10 weeks, and he's like, she might be the one. Whoa.
Yeah. So, I can't do that. I'm not one of those people that think that 10 weeks in, I'm going to marry this person. Like, you could have an idea of like, oh, if this continues well, maybe eventually it'll go that way. Anyone can think like that.
Yeah.
Right. But saying,
Yeah.
oh, I love her, she might be the one, should I tell her about my financial situation? I don't think that's the case.
And 19 as well.
At 19, yeah.
No, don't tell her. Straight up. Just don't tell her. Keep it either to yourself or keep it within your family.
I think it's also good for him to, it's at 10 weeks or 2.5 months, it's really not, it's almost impossible to tell your significant other's financial habits.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
looking at the girlfriend's side, like I think it's very important for him to know, like, what do you know about how she spends her money, what she thinks about money in general, right? Of course, at that young age, a lot of us are like, if we have money, we're like, oh, let's not save. This is for something for us now,
Yeah.
right?
And yeah, just the 2.5 months really got me there. It's just
Yeah.
like, you're right. You don't know how she's going to spend her money. Maybe she's like a huge spender, right? And maybe she's like, oh, take me to Paris next weekend. Take me to here next weekend because you can afford it,
Yep.
right? And you're 19. You might actually fall for that and just be like, just go all these trips every weekend just because your girlfriend wanted to. And since you said you love her, you want to do everything for her, right? That $1 million, yeah, you won't be millionaire soon if that's the case.
If she keeps doing that.
Yeah.
Nothing against the girlfriend, we're just assuming things here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we don't
you're
know
right.
who
Yeah,
she
yeah,
is, right?
But I'm saying you just don't know that.
Exactly.
That's why we're giving you that that it could happen. If you know her spending habits and if you know she's a huge saver and like she's very like frugal with money, then it's still early.
Yeah.
But I can see that you trust her more by telling her your financial like net worth.
If a
But-
person's like that at that age, I think that's a good sign.
It's a good indicator.
Yeah.
for
It's a
sure.
good indicator.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's the green light. I'm saying that's a yellow light.
She gets points.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she gets points for
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I would agree. But 2.5 months in, you didn't tell your parents. I'm assuming your friends don't know. Then don't tell her.
Yeah.
Right. Tell your
No.
parents first. Again, like Gerald said, assuming what your relationship with your parents is like. Right. And if you don't want to keep it from if you don't want to tell your parents, then don't tell anybody else. And then just help your parents because I'm assuming they're helping you pay for international school.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's not cheap anywhere in the world. So then you can start paying the bills to help your parents, right? Instead of telling your girlfriend so that she may or may not use your money to like make you guys happy, use it so like it lessens the financial burden on yourself and your family and your parents, especially, right? You wouldn't have that $1 million if it wasn't for your parents, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes, we're assuming his upbringing, but yes.
Yes. Again, assuming, yes. We're assuming that, but yeah. Any final words you want to give to him?
I think that was it, man. Just don't tell her yet.
Will, any final words?
It's interesting how you told us, but not your parents. And
Right?
significant
Yeah, that's
other.
true too. Yeah, you
Yeah.
tell everyone on the internet, but not your
Yes,
parents.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's anonymous, but
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, now, yeah. All right. All right. Let's move on to the third one. This one's from Glittering Bear 5218. Oh, he's going by Glittering Bear.
Sure.
Title is Friend Helped Me While I Was in a Vulnerable Position, but Was This Inappropriate? I recently had surgery and my friend would come over most nights to hang out with me for a bit and make sure I don't fall and hurt myself. Anyway, when I was taking a shower, before I could rinse the soap off or shampoo out of my hair, I slipped and fell. It hurt so much and I started crying. He knocked on the door to ask if I was okay. I told him I was, but he said he was going to come in and asked if I would be okay with that. I really hated the situation I was in and didn't want my friend seeing me naked, but I did need help. I was in such a vulnerable state. I was on the floor, naked and in pain, and he helped me up, wrapped me in a towel, then carried me to my room. Does this seem weird to you? When I talked this over with a friend, she said that I should have had a girl with me so she could have helped me in that situation rather than him. She said it was inappropriate for him to do that.
It's really hard to gauge because how close was the? I'm guessing it's Miss Bear here, and
Yeah, Miss Bear. It's
Miss Bear with this male friend.
Yeah.
How close were they?
Yeah.
It doesn't really it doesn't specify their friendship, but I'm assuming because he comes over like almost a lot every night to make sure like to hang out with her and make sure she doesn't get hurt. I'm assuming they're pretty close, like best friends or really close.
But I mean, that's an assumption. I mean,
it is an assumption.
It
You're
is.
100% right. But for her, yeah, even if I had surgery, I wouldn't want some random Joe Blow to come to my house every day and take care of me and talk to me.
Right.
Right?
I guess my
That's
question
true.
is like, was that a norm before? Like, was he at her house all the time before she got injured anyway?
Again, this does
Like-
not include on here.
The only questions in my head right now is why him? Like Miss Bear's friend said she should have a girl. Like, why wasn't it someone else? Why was it him? But we don't have that information, so we're gonna have to work off what we have, right?
Yeah. Again, assuming, she doesn't want to bother her other friends and he was just ready and available to be there.
I kind of want to give the guy the
benefit of the doubt.
benefit of the doubt here, because I don't know the exact situation, but I think it checks all the boxes of like, number one, hey, are you okay? Number two, hey, can I come in? And obviously he can hear her crying through the door, so it's like
Yeah.
something's wrong.
And she even said I needed help. So I'm assuming she consented for him coming in.
Yeah, and I think their friend is just like us, a third party in all this.
Mm-hmm.
She's hearing secondhand information. What do you think, Will?
I think she said she was in a lot of pain. This was from an accident before. I think if the pain was really that bad, I think it's a little bit more appropriate, just because let's say, let's just forget about them being friends and stuff. If somebody if there was a situation where somebody was in real pain and in like life threatening almost, you don't have to be friends to help out this person if that person really needs it, right?
That's a good point.
I think the idea is because she was in such a vulnerable state, right?
Right.
That's the big
Yeah,
issue.
that's the biggest issue here. I'm not disappointed. I'm kind of questioning. Like, I want to know more. I wish we had more details as to
Yeah, me too.
as to how exactly the guy approached the situation when he came in, right? Because when he comes in, like, he can, like, she was like, oh, this felt inappropriate and stuff. Like, I feel vulnerable being naked, right? I mean, I'm sure, he could have came in, brought towels or whatever with his eyes closed or something, so she feels sort of less
Safe, right?
violated,
Yeah.
right? And if he can express that, right? Obviously, this is all in the moment. So of course, he might have not been able to think of that.
I think the eye closing and coming in, like closing your eyes, that might have been hard because he actually helped her up.
Yeah,
And then,
but
carried her.
I meant the moment that she's naked, right? He could kind of give her the towels,
I guess, yeah.
right, and cover her up, right? And then at that point, she's not naked or in less of a vulnerable position, right? So carrying her, I think, if she's in so much pain that she can't get up herself, I mean, if he didn't bring you up, you're still in the tub.
That's true.
So
And
you're saying it's not inappropriate,
It's not inappropriate with the information that we have at hand.
but
that's
yeah.
I
That's
can
what I
agree
would
with
say
that.
too. I mean, yeah, it's not a huge deal. I think if I was in the, let's say Miss Glittering Bear had a significant other, that's a guy, and then realized another guy helped her, then I'll be a little bit
Yes, that's kind of weird.
I'd be a
then.
little bit weirded
Yeah.
out. But also thinking back, if I was in that situation, you know what? He did help my significant other, I guess, right? So
Yeah, it depends how trusting of a person you are.
yeah, I guess. But, obviously you said that this guy, he comes over most nights is what she said too. So he comes over most nights, hangs out with her and makes sure she doesn't hurt herself, like fall or hurt herself.
Okay.
So I'm, again, giving the benefit of the doubt. I wouldn't let some random Joe Blow come to my house most nights to help me out. Right. So I'm assuming this is a trusted friend. Right. And
there's a significant amount of trust.
Yeah. And if you're saying that I don't think it was inappropriate, but your friend thought so you're kind of getting second thoughts in the time, I'm assuming when he came in, gave you the towel, helped you up, carried you out, you didn't notice anything odd about him and how he like his demeanor in that situation. So I'm assuming he was a pure gentleman. He was just helping you from one person to another person rather than and just helped you. And that was it.
And the thing that's making me lean more towards the side that I'm on is that it didn't clue in until her friend brought it up. Right? Because if she felt violated throughout the entire thing, she would have explained it to her friend and in this post differently. Right? She would have been like, I felt really uncomfortable, but he went in anyway. But she didn't say that.
No, she did not say that.
She said that she didn't want to feel vulnerable and feel exposed to her friend. But then she always like counterweighted it by saying, but then again, I was in pain. I couldn't get up. So like, I feel like, yes, she's torn, but I don't think she feels violated by her friend coming in. And it didn't, I don't think it clued into her head until a friend explained that to her.
Yeah. And also, I think this post would have been a lot longer if something happened after that incident.
Yeah, exactly.
That's another thing I'm kind of trying to like understand. It's like, I
kind of want to know about that. What happened after?
And that's the thing. If something did happen, I think she would have actually said more.
Yeah.
It just would, this is the idea that, because if something like that happened, you felt so vulnerable and you're like, oh, I felt kind of like uncomfortable that he came in and helped me. I'm sure that like she would have posted more and said way more stuff on that.
I think that's very fair. I think if she felt uncomfortable, if she truly felt uncomfortable or violated by this single incident or whatever it's called, she would have given more examples to kind of support her case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you do feel violated, Miss Bear, we're not trying to say that you're lying. Right?
Yeah. But yeah, you make the right point where like it didn't click into her. Like Gerald made the right, it didn't click into her until her friend said it.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, is that actually like such a, not like a inappropriate thing to do? And then she just wanted to see obviously our opinions on it. And I say no. Gerald says no.
I'm generally a pretty trusting person. So take that with a grain of salt. But I think he had good intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think she would know better than us what his intentions are.
That's
just
true.
because she knows him, right? All we know is he was there many nights. He was there and asked, I would say, the right questions before helping her.
Yeah. It'd be a different story if he just came in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. He knocked, asked. You obviously said you needed help. So you didn't just, directly say you gave him the yes and you come in. I'm assuming since you said you needed help, you said yes. And then he came in.
Yeah.
And then he helped you. And you got dressed or whatever.
Yeah.
Put you in your bed.
I think one thing that I'm kind of like that little 1% that's kind of like, thinking the worst of everything is like even though he's like, can I come in and help and that kind of stuff, right? If I was in that situation, I would have asked, how can I help, right? Because if somebody asks for help, I always ask them, how do you want me to help you, right? Because I don't want to assume and do things my way, because that might give them the wrong, like if I do that, they might think you're not even helping at all, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously you have your own way and your own thoughts as to how to rectify this situation. But obviously the person that needs help, I think they should be the ones to express how they want to be helped.
And going off of that, like, pessimistic point of view, I've heard enough stories where the guy had completely good intentions, but just because there was a naked girl in the situation, people are looking at him like the bad guy.
Exactly.
So I feel like, as the guy, flipping like the perspective here a little bit, you need to be a little more careful in that situation, right?
Like I know he may have had the best of intentions, but how society views gender roles here, I think it's very important for the guy to like cover his ass as much as he can.
And you can already see that with her friend be like, hey, that was inappropriate. He
Yeah.
should, you know,
even though it probably wasn't, by the way that we're looking at it right now, even that little one friend making that comment, that story twist into something a lot darker than what we want it to be.
It's a twisted game of telephone at that point.
Yeah.
But for Miss Bear, I don't think he did anything appropriate. He helped you in need, and I think that's commendable.
Yeah, based on what you've shared and how much you've shared.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, that wraps number 3. We're going to the last one now. Before I get started on the last one, for the listeners, I kind of want to do a trigger warning for this last one. Just in case, it does trigger something in you. So I just want to make sure that there's a trigger warning. It's about abortion. So if that's anything you don't want to listen to, then please do not listen to this guy or girl, please not listen to this last one. With that being said, let's go to the last one. This one is from Throwaway Y'alls. And title is My Wife Had an Abortion Behind My Back. This one's a little bit long, so bear with me. I was told this was me, a 31-year-old male, wife, 32-year-old female, have been happily married for 2 years and have been together for 8 years total. Earlier on, I told her that I wanted kids, and it's a deal breaker if she didn't. She agreed that it was also what she wanted. About a year ago, my wife and I started trying for kids. About 1.5 months ago, we found out she was pregnant. It was the happiest day of my life. My wife seemed ecstatic as well. I wanted to tell my family right away, but my wife told me that she wanted to make it out of the first trimester before we let anyone know. I was so elated and happy that my dad might meet his grandchild before he left. Some backstory about his dad. His dad was diagnosed with ALS around 7 years ago, and it's been really rough on him. He can't really breathe on his own and spends most of his days in bed. 2 weeks ago, my brother-in-law texted us all in the group chat that we were driving down to visit my sister, and that him and my sister had some news. It had been a year and a half since I saw my sister and my brother-in-law, so I was excited. My wife and I agreed to host them and have a bunch of family come around that Sunday for a barbecue. Honestly, I assumed that the news that they were pregnant and my sister was pregnant. At the day of the barbecue, everything seemed really great. It was nice to catch up and see the family that I couldn't because of the pandemic, and especially my sister because we are quite close, even though she lives a couple of states away. We were all curious what the news was, and my sister told us what it was, and my heart dropped. She had told us that for the past 2 years, she had been having the same symptoms, and the doctors told her about 3 months ago that she had ALS. I never once in a million years thought it could be genetic. I thought my dad having it was a one-time type of thing, not that it would be passed on. I was absolutely devastated and my whole family was crying. My wife, on the other hand, was super quiet. I didn't really think too much of it because I was too busy comforting my sister. Fast forward, my wife came to me yesterday and told me she had an abortion. I asked her why, and she told me that she didn't want to take the risk of the baby inheriting it. She had watched my dad deteriorate and didn't want to take the risk and told me that we should look into adoption. I'm going to be honest here and say that I did flip my shit. I yelled at her and called her pretty much every name in the book. I told her to pack her crap and get out. I think this was warranted because she went behind my back, but my in-laws have been blowing up my phone calling me selfish and abusive. I don't know how to move forward with this.
Wow. That's
heavy.
Man, when you were having a little difficulty getting to the sister with ALS part, I was actually thinking of something else. Like maybe she was like gonna have a kid or whatever, right? But then this thing popped up. I'm like, what the?
That was a pretty big wrinkle. I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I think the biggest issue in my mind when trying to sort of decipher or comprehend everything that you just said here was she did it behind his back. And I think something as huge as this, I'm not saying abortions are right or wrong in this scenario, but a big decision like this, both people have to know before it happens.
I 100% agree with that. It's not a matter of how you feel about abortions at this point. This is a hitch in their relationship more so than anything else, is in the matter that she made a decision for the both of them all by herself without even so much as,
She didn't even talk to him about it.
yeah,
So
without even a conversation.
I asked some of, I asked around to see what other people think. Obviously, we talk about it here too, but I've asked just what other people think, and a lot of people, not a lot of people, some of the people were like, it shouldn't matter. The girl had the wife could not tell the husband and just get it done anyway, because the whole idea of her body, her choice, right? So knowing
No,
that,
I agree with that. I agree. Her body, her choice. Yes, but you need to tell. Like
that's where the argument stems from. It's like, yeah, it's like you don't have to tell. Why? That's why people would argue with things, say you don't have to tell that, because it's her choice, her body, her choice. Again, with that idea, saying that why, if it's her choice alone and completely, like you agreed, why would she need to tell her husband? Yes, it's good to do it. I think I agree with you in saying that she should have done it, but you said she should have done it, or you have to tell the husband, and that's where the argument will stem.
That's true. I mean, there is always two sides to, or multiple sides to an argument. I think this is my own opinion.
Yeah.
When people say my body, my choice, in my mind, a big bulk of that scenario is with like unplanned pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
In this case, it's very planned.
Yeah.
It's very planned. They both consented to this.
Exactly.
This moment, this journey. I think once both parties consent, both parties need to consent, or at least accept that there's going to be a decision that's going to be made after the fact.
Yep.
Whether he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to agree with her wanting the abortion, right? See, I have no problem with that, right? If she's like, she saw her sister-in-law get diagnosed with ALS. She saw her father-in-law go through this really crappy time with ALS, and she doesn't want to pass that over, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is a fair point on why you might not want the child. But the fact is, two people consented to this moment, just one person bailing out. It's not even I'm not saying that it's like, oh yeah, there's a right or wrong in that scenario. Like, I kind of want to say it's wrong, but it's kind of a dick move.
Yeah, no,
I want to say it worse, but it's obviously I'm holding back here.
It's a family show.
It's a dick move.
Gerald, I need to collect my thoughts.
You need to collect your thoughts. The thing that I
crazy.
latched on with in William's argument is that they both decided to have this child in the very beginning,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's not going to, assuming they have this child, he's not going to go around, hey, here's her kid. He's going to say, hey, here's our kid, our son, our daughter.
Yeah.
Right? And now he doesn't have that option because of a decision she made by herself. Right? She might not necessarily need his permission, but he, as the potential father, needs to have a say in this decision. Hands down, no questions asked. What she did was wrong. Not necessarily having the abortion was wrong. It was wrong that he was not consulted in this, because that could have been his child.
So in the concern, he did mention that the wife didn't want the child because it might have a chance of having ALS again, right? It could be inherited. So I did personal research on this.
Okay.
There is around 5 to 10% chance that all of ALS, 5 to 10% chance that you will get it's hereditary, right? So there's a 5 to 10% chance if this guy has a child, that child might get ALS.
Okay.
Right.
Is that whether or not that person has ALS? Because to me,
It's somewhere in the family.
Okay.
I see.
If it's anywhere in the family, there's a 5 to 10% chance.
No,
Dang.
if your parent has it, I think it's the 5 to 10. But I think you make a good point. I actually didn't look at if it's your granddad that has it.
Exactly.
So it was your parents that has a 5 to 10. But I mean, for all we know, this guy could get it in his later years, right? So assuming that he could get it in his later years.
I mean, either way, there's a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, is 5 to 10% chance a high enough chance to just get rid of a baby?
I'm wondering if this was a knee-jerk reaction by her, that the news of her sister-in-law's like, inheriting this disease. I'm wondering if she just freaked out, or if she just didn't want the baby all along. She's like, hey, I have an out. I'm definitely reading between the lines here.
I have an out.
But then the thing is, I don't think she just doesn't want kids, because she mentioned to him they should try abortion. Sorry, not abortion, adoption.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, so at the end, the wife did mention, instead of having our own, biological children, that we should consider adoption. So it's not that she doesn't want kids. I think that's for no one who doesn't want kids is gonna be like, let's go get let's adopt a child. No one's gonna say that.
She might want kids, but she might not want to birth one herself, right?
That's true too, yeah.
But is this information before she knew about the ALS situation, or is it before,
I'm assuming she knew about his dad.
Yeah. So she knew about his dad, which she said that she saw his dad deteriorate and like go through that
Right.
that painful process that he went through.
Right, but this happened after. But what I'm thinking is this happened after the sister revealed her diagnosis,
Yes.
right? Because I think if that was a big enough reason for her to go with this abortion, she would have expressed that before that news, right? Because she's known. I'm assuming she's known for a significant amount of time that the father had ALS.
Yeah. So
or the grandfather, or the father.
Yeah.
The guy's father.
Yeah. So give the benefit of the doubt, we're assuming that she does want kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I am. Yeah. I'm sure she wants kids, but I think, this is how I think. A lot of people think that when people are having kids, like there's a lot of emphasis in the woman in like the birthing process. And yes, I agree, but you can't just leave the guy out of it.
Exactly. And again, I'm going to harp on this fact. It was not unplanned. The guy had as much say in having this, in trying to conceive a child from the beginning, right? She was like, yes, let's have a kid. And he says, yes, I want to have a kid, right? How did it turn into, I don't want to have this kid, and then I'm not going to tell my partner?
So you don't condone the actual action. You just condone the fact that she didn't tell her. Or she didn't tell him, sorry.
I'm only harping on the objective things. In my mind, it's objectively wrong that she didn't tell him. This big of a decision, that's wrong.
Yeah. I think you should. I think what giving her the benefit of the doubt is like, I think she's scared that the husband would convince her otherwise.
That's the point, though. They're married. They should realize at this point that their entire life together is going to be a compromise, or at least at the very least, a discussion.
I think if they had a discussion and she expressed her worries to him, and if he said no, then I would have been okay if she did the abortion. But she told him, right? And at that point, once both parties know, I think that's where the my body, my choice kind of playing field becomes level again.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the hardest one, I guess. Yeah,
he did say he was gonna wrap up
I
soon.
know, but I'm just like, I didn't know it was going to be this hard.
It slowly increases. Yeah. I understand both sides.
What was the actual question? Was there a question?
He's like, how do I move on from this?
How do I move on? Okay.
Is the big one, yeah.
I think that this is a very, very possibly a relationship ender.
I mean, he's saying moving on.
So he's already,
No, let's not assume that as moving on as in like, how do we get past this incident of like, she did this, how do I move past on with this relationship, and or how do I move on from this relationship, I guess, altogether. But
yeah, see, the way that he worded it, obviously I'm kind of reading a lot into it. When he says, how do I move on?
Is it, I don't know how to move forward with this.
Okay,
Okay.
see,
Yeah.
that's different. See, if someone says, how do I move on? To me, that sort of language tells me that he wants to separate
End the
from this,
relationship.
right?
Yeah.
But how do I move forward with
Yeah.
this? This, to me, that kind of gives me a more positive vibe, as in
Okay.
like, yes, like maybe he wants to repair the relationship or get over this or fix this situation and move forward.
Yeah.
How do you,
I don't know. I would feel so betrayed.
That's
Exactly.
That's the thing.
exactly
I don't.
it.
yeah.
You're right. Like the whole, I'm personally 100% agreeing with you guys. It's just that the fact that she didn't tell him is the biggest issue,
Mhm.
right? What I wonder what went through your mind when you decided to just do this without telling him, and you knew from day one you guys been together for 8 years. Day one, he told you he wanted kids.
Yep.
He wanted a family, right? And you agreed to that, and you know all that so forth. But then, like, what was going through your mind when you just decided not to tell her? Like, tell him why? I just
Yeah.
can't wrap my head around that.
That's a very important detail that obviously would change. That would greatly change how we would answer this question.
Like, she did say that she just doesn't want to pass it on to her kids, right? And she doesn't want biological kids because of that issue.
But what triggered that, right? I think that really matters to me. Did that trigger when the sister revealed her diagnosis? Did that
I
trigger?
think so. I think it triggered when
I think to see that's what I'm assuming, and that's what I'm thinking based on the chain of events.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're assuming here, so that's why I'm saying. Or did it happen when I'm assuming that you didn't find out that his father had ALS right from the start, right? It must have happened like he said he wanted kids from the start, but I don't think like anybody like goes into a relationship with someone like even on a first day and be like, yeah, by the way, my dad has ALS.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's
So,
very unlikely.
yeah. So I think it, because by what he said, this is we're not assuming here. So they've
Yeah.
been in a relationship for 8 years, and
Yeah.
then his dad, got diagnosed with ALS 7 years ago. So they were probably like a year into the relationship, when the father found out. So
I think she had 7 years to express that concern.
But then I remember he also said he had no idea it could be hereditary.
yeah, he didn't know. He didn't.
Yeah,
it's a
so
one-time
this
thing.
is why I'm leaning more towards she found out that it could be hereditary after the sister got diagnosed, right?
Yeah, that's what I think too.
Because the sister is not as old, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm pretty sure the wife did a little bit of research on her own after that, right? I don't like if it took her 7 years to like make that decision. Like it's kind of it doesn't line up very well.
So that means,
No.
so again, when I did the research, I researched 5 to 10%. So that means, let's assume she did her own research. That means she betted on the 5 to 10% instead of the 90% that would have been a healthy child.
I don't know what I'm
normal
saying.
life.
I'm not saying that like, oh yeah, like she played the probabilities correctly or like logically or anything, right? I'm just saying that, she did her research, right? And she made that decision. I think I'm fairly confident that she didn't do this research and was thinking about it for 7 years. Like when she found out.
Yeah, no, it's 100% the sister.
I think
It's the sister.
Yeah, it's the
I'm
sister.
fairly certain that it's like maybe a week's long of Google searches,
yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking too.
reading,
Thinking
who knows
about
what
it.
articles about this.
Yeah.
Thinking about it from her point of view too. Let's say she has the kid and she's worrying about it for the whole time. That's a ticking time bomb of like just constant anxiety thinking about that.
Yes.
So
I think
I feel like that could be a strong enough motivator if she's really scared of ALS, if she's that like terrified about what this disease can do to her, potentially her kid, then I could definitely see that being. I just can't get behind the fact that she didn't even talk to him about it. I cannot.
I think that's right now that fact is kind of just like clouding things that
Yeah.
I'm thinking about right now.
Okay, so let's kind of same topic, but a little bit a different one is that he's asking also, he feels that it's warranted that he flipped this crap. He like said all the words and then he like told her to pack her crap up and get out. Would you say that's warranted because she didn't say
I think the reaction is knee jerk, exactly like her reaction.
Yeah.
I think obviously being that negative, being, that hostile towards her, obviously is not the best response. I mean, obviously could have done it with a more calm approach, but that's really easy to say when something big like that has happened to you, right? And I just think that just like in my opinion, she made a mistake in not telling him. He also made a mistake in reacting that way.
Yeah.
I think, but I'm not saying the mistakes were on the same level in any way, but I'm saying mistakes were made everywhere
On both sides.
Yeah,
On both
at this
sides.
point.
It's human nature, right? Imagine finding out your sister just got diagnosed with the same painful disease that your dad got diagnosed with.
Yeah.
And then your wife says, "Hey, I'm not having your kid anymore." Imagine being that guy.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to do. I got swept in this whole time, like thinking, like, what would I do in that situation? I just can't get to an answer.
It's like it just gets piled on and on and on in a relatively short period of time.
Like, even if this guy didn't, flip out, right? Like, he's asking, how would you move forward with this? I don't know if I could. I don't think I could. I could. If, like, ever since, you guys know me, I wanted a family. And I'm just, like, the person I meet hopefully wants a family and stuff like that. Like, and this whole thing happens. And that happened to me without telling me. I don't know how would I react. I don't know. I don't know how I can continue the relationship. That's the big thing I'm trying to get at. Like, I'm against divorces. I don't want to get, like, divorce is not a thing that I would have in my dictionary when I get married, but, like, what else could you do?
Yeah.
I think that this is very easy for me to say because this isn't my relationship.
Yeah.
I think in a very if I thought about it very logically, I think that he would need to break off this relationship with her. I think in a very logical sense, I'm not saying that's how I really feel. In a logical sense, this is how I feel because she's expressed that she's worried about the kid, or the potential kid of having ALS, right? Let's say they had the kid, right? And let's say the kid did have ALS. I think because she's expressed this before, she's not gonna, love the, like, there's a very high chance she's not gonna love the kid and take care of the kid. And I think that might be an even worse scenario for the kid if, if the kid grows up in an environment, in a familial situation where the mother is going to be even a tiny bit neglectful towards the kid because he has this condition, because she's expressed it before even he was born that I don't want this, right?
Yeah, and to add on to that, if the relationship did continue and they end up adopting the kid, I think a very likely scenario that could occur is that the dad could hold resentment against this kid purely because he sees him or her as a replacement to who could have been his biological son or daughter.
Yeah. So
like,
I think
this
is why I'm thinking this is why I say logically, like, this is devastating.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
there is no doubt.
The logical move is to break this off because of this incident. But obviously there's a lot of, like, even though this had a lot of details in it, we still don't know everything.
You're right.
So,
and I don't think anyone could put, everything in one concern,
exactly.
right? But
we always give answers, but in my head, I'm just like, there's always that 1% or more that could go the other way.
right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yes,
I don't
know.
I don't think I can continue. I personally, it would be so hard.
Yeah, personally,
right?
That kind of
no.
It's just a huge betrayal.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think I could ever look. You're right. I think if you we look at the future, right? If they do go by adoption, you're right. I think the dad could hold resentment over the kid.
Yes.
Vice versa. What William said about if they do have the kid, right? And the mom is like, or the wife is like, I don't want my biological kids because they might have ALS. And then if the kid gets ALS, then you're right. I think that could happen on the wife's perspective. Obviously, if they have the biological kid, then the kid's fine and doesn't have ALS, then that's the best case scenario. All right.
That's not even that great because she's living under the fear that at any moment
Exactly.
he's gonna like the kid. Okay, I labeled the kid as a boy, but the child
Yes.
is gonna get it. Like she's gonna always have that behind her head.
Yeah. Right.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Like as long as there's a 5 to 10% chance,
She's always gonna
that
be worrying
mindset is
about it.
never going away.
Well, I mean, you always say the 1%
Yeah.
chance.
Exactly. I know.
So,
Yeah, I
5 to
know.
10.
But I mean, this is the research statistic that you gave us. So I'm just
Yes, and that's
5 to
why again,
10%.
that's the first thing I googled, and that's what I got, and I'm just gonna just use the number. I could be completely wrong for all I know, but again, assuming that the dad doesn't have it, does that change the statistics? Right? I don't know. Right? If it's
Yeah.
a granddad, then if your aunt, right, does that make a difference? I don't know, but that's just what I saw in the website. So
yeah. But I think doesn't matter what the fact was. It doesn't matter what the fact is about that.
yeah,
I think just with the given information that both parties knew, lots of wrong moves were played.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In to answer the question, how do you move on? I don't see me personally. I couldn't see myself moving on or moving forward with the same woman, with the same person that I was with.
Yes.
Like it would be very difficult for me to continue this relationship without always having that nagging at me. Like for me to continue in this relationship, that would have to be something that I would have to push away in a deep corner of my mind, and it would just never go away.
Either that
yeah.
or both parties have to work really hard at the relationship to rectify this.
I think
just because she doesn't want it, like she doesn't want a kid or want to take care of a kid that might have ALS, like this is all in the moment, right? Maybe even a day later, maybe her mind might be a little bit more calm, might be a little bit more accepting with the fact, right?
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying if he even wants to pursue it, which me logically, no, but for him, different story, could be anything. They have to work harder than they ever have in that relationship to make it work. If, that's what they want.
Yeah, I agree. And it's so upsetting that this whole thing come to that conclusion where none of us would continue the relationship. It's if she just made one effort to just communicate what she was thinking.
exactly.
If she just had that conversation, right? Because I think the answer what we would all have of I wouldn't continue the relationship would all change if she had the conversation and they both agreed on whatever.
Well, no, it doesn't even have to be whether see, this is where I'm kind of different, where if he didn't agree with that, I would still be okay with her aborting that child because she got it out there. She told him her concerns, right? And yes, I do believe that in in that process of giving birth to a child, it is very important. Like it is a very there's a certain aspect that men will never understand.
Of course.
Yeah.
Because they're not obviously giving birth to the child. Like they'll never understand that. So that's why I'm saying, as long as she, expressed that, and, and even if he doesn't agree, then I'll give her the pass on, the adoption, like not the adoption, the abortion.
Right? Actually, I just kind of realized that, it wouldn't matter if she had the conversation. Why would it matter? Right? Either way.
No, I know, but at least that way, he's not like backstabbed.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, you're right. But
this is
either way, if she had that conversation, I don't think I'd still continue the relationship. Because if, let's say, had that conversation and then they both decided to keep the kid, then you're right. The wife's still going to have that thought of like, oh my God, is my kid going to have it? If they decide to have an abortion and then adopt, right? Then, well, I guess that might change a little bit because then the dad wouldn't hold the resentment.
Yeah.
Like this throwaway y'all wouldn't have the resentment towards the adopted child.
Yes.
So that would be the only difference I could see.
That's if he agrees to the abortion.
And you're right. I don't think he would.
Yeah.
If they had that conversation, I don't think they would.
Yeah. If he doesn't agree with it, then if they adopt, then we're in that situation that you just described.
Yeah.
Where he even he might try as hard as he could to not hold any resentment towards the kid, right? But there has to be a little, at least, even if it's not, what do you call it? Even if it's not super negative or something that's like really projecting.
Yeah, there's always going to be the thought in the dad's
Yeah,
mind,
as long
right,
as-
that this is not my kid.
As long as the thought's there, like it's never going away and it's
So,
there.
The only way it could have actually have ended okay would be if they had the conversation and they both agreed to not have biological children. That's the only way that this situation would honestly change. But I don't, by judging by this,
Barring their belief systems don't change.
Yeah.
Like if it changes, then obviously different game.
yeah,
We're talking about statistics in here,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
you keep saying, or you just said that even if they had it, or they have the conversation, happy ending, they both agree to not have kids,
Mhm.
there's a chance that could happen. But
yeah,
now we'll never know,
yeah,
right? Because here's my point here is that if they had the discussion beforehand, it would have at the very least softened the blow, right?
Yeah.
And that saves a whole bunch of emotional trauma to the dad and the wife, right? Because he said that he was throwing stuff at her and like telling her to leave his house.
Yeah,
or
I
whatever.
I don't
think-
think he was throwing stuff.
Well,
I think he
you-
just like,
you get what I was saying.
He was cursing and stuff.
he
I
went
don't think
berserk.
he would have. I don't think. Yeah, I think he wouldn't have reacted that way if that conversation happened.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
It saves emotional trauma on both sides here, which, in the long run will, it actually adds up.
And I think we shouldn't discount the wife's perspective. She had to get,
Yep.
she didn't have the conversation, but she still had to go to the abortion clinic or whatever
Yep.
you go alone and go through that experience
Yep.
alone without her husband.
Yep.
Right, we
And
can't
this is-
discount that.
This is where I'm saying there was nothing wrong with the abortion itself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's the events leading up to it that is what's getting to me.
Yeah, there's no real happy conclusion for this one.
No.
Yeah.
And
it's,
It's
I'm sorry,
unfortunate.
but I can't side at all with the wife here. Because I'm assuming she didn't tell her husband. So I don't think she would have told anyone else. So, you know what? Call me the bad guy here, but that was completely her doing, that she had to go to the abortion clinic herself. That she had to go through all that by herself.
yeah.
Right? Because you would think you're a married couple, the first person you would say anything to is your spouse.
Yep.
Right? And if you can't tell them something, then how would you possibly be able to tell anyone else? So that was her own doing, that she had to do that all by herself.
I think the fact that this event has occurred, I mean, it's hard for me to put any kind of silver lining on anything.
Yeah.
But I think because this happened, the only silver lining that I kind of see from this is now they both really know a key part about their relationship, and now it's up to them whether or not they make that decision, right? This is a huge moment. Like, this is bigger than, I don't even think I'll ever encounter this moment in my life, right? I hope not.
Yeah.
But I think obviously it's not looking very good, but I think the silver lining is now you guys really know. Like, both of them really know. It's unfortunate that this had to happen, but now they both know, and it's going to be hard for the guy. It's going to be near impossible for the guy. It's not impossible, near impossible, but it's hard to even talk about this silver lining when it's just really unfortunate and sad.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
silver lining is kind of insignificant.
It's
Yeah.
insignificant. I'm just trying to sort of
Yeah.
find something, positive out of what just happened.
And it's just so sad. There's no winners here.
Yeah, I think that will
Well,
conclude.
the winners are kind of us. We get to talk about
We
it.
get to talk about it.
Yeah.
I think that concludes the last one. Let's do a quick review for the listeners. First one would be my girlfriend's going to her male best friend's party and I'm not invited. Gerald, do you want to take that one?
That one, I hate to sound like a broken record, but like, at the very least, express how you feel. Express how you feel, and like how I said it before, my personal opinion, the ball's in her court.
Sounds good. And then for the second one was should I tell my girlfriend that I'm a millionaire? Will?
That was easy. No, that's a
Next.
no. You 2.5 months. Come on. You wait a little bit longer and learn more about her, and then once you're more confident with that, I think if you want to tell her, you don't have to ask that question to millions of strangers. Like, if you're unsure.
Yeah.
And Third one is friend helped me while I was in a vulnerable position, but was inappropriate. We all three of us gave the guy the benefit of the doubt.
Based on the context and information that we were given.
So we don't think it was inappropriate. We just think that your friend kind of planted a seed there, but we don't think it was inappropriate.
Yeah, but we don't think your friend is bad either. We're just saying we're not saying the friend is bad. We're just saying, that this is a very possible scenario that can happen because one person said something.
Yes.
William, the king of disclaimers over here.
And I didn't say that the friend was bad. That's what we felt.
We just want to make it clear that everyone's okay here, okay?
Yeah. And lastly is when my wife had an abortion behind my back.
Yikes.
And again, that one's the harder one. I think that might have been the hardest one
so far that
in
we
had
history of the podcast.
The history of the podcast. So
I think that one's so hard because it's something that objectively is not a good thing that has happened.
There's no winners,
right? Even though abortion is even though that is like a freedom sort of thing, the idea that someone died.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that wraps up episode 11 for Penny.
11?
Yeah.
Wow. That was quite the note to end on, too.
Well, what you think?
Wow.
After listening, you're here. What do you think?
Great. I had a great time. I said I was a self-proclaimed number 2 fan.
Now that you're on it.
Now that I'm on it, I'm still number 2.
Who's number 1 then?
Who's number 1?
I don't know. I'm just trying to be humble here. I'm trying to be humble here and give it to
overtake anyone.
Yeah. So unless I'm super confident that I know every fan and I can kind of one up them, I'll stay at number 2. Yeah, I'll say I'm number 2 because I only have to drive here. I didn't have to fly here. I didn't have to travel huge distances to get here. It was more on the convenient side for me, right?
There you go.
So
yeah, thanks for coming on.
Oh yeah, no. Thanks for having me.
Of course,
I would love to come on again. I love listening to the podcast, right? Nice. Every time I listen to the podcast and you guys are talking about it, I'm like, dang, I want to talk too. I want to get in on this. Right?
And that's exactly what we want listeners to
that's the
feel.
vibe we want to give
there's
off
there's some juicy topics in other episodes that I heard, and I'm like, do I get just as good ones when I'm on?
Yeah. Well, what do you think? You were on it.
I think
definitely juicy.
The last
one was whoa. Yeah. I think they're all good. Let's be honest. They're all good topics. If they weren't, we wouldn't be talking about it. Right? We wouldn't be trying to figure out, different scenarios.
Yeah.
Right? In each post that they give us.
I think I've said it on almost every episode lately. It's nice to sit down and analyze other people's problems. And
because it's not our own.
Just a little,
I mean, I think
seems a little selfish, but
I think that has to do a lot with there's less of an emotional attachment. So
that's
it's easier for us to talk about it.
That's our main selling point, right? A third party opinion.
Yeah. And
please give us more.
Yeah, and just about to go into it. And if you guys would like a third-party opinion on anything, whether it's concerns, problems, or worries that you may have, please give us an email at givesometous@gmail.com. Again, that is just givesometous@gmail.com. And if you can, please add more detail for Will over here.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So that's how that 1% disappears.
Yeah. And
that's impossible, but let's make it smaller.
He doesn't have to give 10 disclaimers before every answer.
Yeah, and I don't have to think of 20 different scenarios that this could happen. Well, actually, I like talking about the 20 different scenarios.
This is true.
And again, we thank you for tuning in for this week's, and we'll see all your beautiful faces again next week.
Yeah, Will, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on, and listeners, thanks for tuning in. And as always, stay kind to each other.
I'll be back.